Okay, so in this video, we're going to look at setting up a free to use photo booth where you can then charge people to print the photos at the end of the session, or they could send themselves a free digital copy through email, SMS, or QR code link. Now, this might be more suited to an event type setup or something like an install in a retail outlet where the primary purpose of the photo booth is not to make money, but it could just be a fun thing to do. And if you can make money out of it, that's sort of secondary to the purpose. Or it could be a data collection tool where, again, it is free to use it, but the choice to print is up to the guest, but they still feel like they can walk away with something from the experience, either digitally or optionally a printed copy if they want to pay for it. So let's have a look at how this one works. We're going to go ahead and load our sample event. So File, Photo Booth Settings, and we'll load our Pay on Print settings file here, and we'll come back to this in a minute to see how that works. We'll start the MDB Utility, and we'll load in the MDB settings. And this will get us geared up for this one. Now, this is very similar to the pay to start with upsell. Basically, we are just looking at the back end of that event where it's all about the payment trigger on the sharing screen, not the start of the session. So let's run one through and see what it looks like. So for this one, we don't need to use our card to start it. We're going to start it through the touch screen or a button or something like that. So I'll go ahead and take the picture. And once the photo is taken, it's going to send us straight through to the sharing screen where we've got a print prompt set up and an email touchscreen action set up as well. So to go ahead and print the photo, all we need to do is take our card and pay.
Select the product. Authorizing.
And once authorized, that'll go ahead and start the print off.
Thank you.
If we want to send ourselves an email copy, and we could set up obviously SMS or QR code sharing here as well. But if we want to send an email, we can just press that button, put the email address in, and hit send. So this gives users options to either pay to print, which they don't have to, or they can send themselves an email to get a digital copy for free. So let's see how this one works. So the setup in Breeze Remote Pro is pretty straightforward. So it's just a regular sort of photo booth, where we have enabled print and email on the sharing screens. Now for print, we want to enable the payment mode, and that gives us those couple extra screens that we can use for authorizing payments. And then we want to enable our email option as well. And you just set that up as normal with your SMTP details and the body of your email here as well. Other than that, the Breeze setup is quite simple. Let's have a look at the MDB setup for this one. So it's really about what we're doing on the sharing screen for this. So let's have a look here. So I've set up an idle step on the ready screen. So when we start the photo booth, we want to essentially disable the reader. So on ready.jpg, we're going to set the state to idle and ensure we've got the enable reader unchecked, and everything else can be sort of left blank. Then when we hit the share.jpg screen, we want to initialize the reader. So we'll set the reader state to init, and we'll check the enable reader option. I can leave the rest here. Then we want to add a credit step. So when a user taps their card onto the terminal, when they're on the share.jpg screen, we want to set it to a credit state so we can ask for payment. So we've got a reader enabled, credit state, and we're going to ask for 500 cents or $5 in this case. And then we're going to send a photo booth command, print photos. Now, as like the other example, this is not going to automatically print the photos. What it's going to do is take us to one of our share print screens. So let's have a look in our asset folder for this example. So we've got our share screen, which has got our instructions here on what's going on. Then we have share print payment, which is the screen they're going to be taken to once they tap their card and the payment is being authorized. So this is your payment authorizing screen. If the payment is successful, you'll go through to the share printing screen where you can let people know that the image is printing. And if the payment is unsuccessful, they'll go through to the cancelled screen where you can display a message saying the payment has failed, and it will take them back to that share screen. So just jumping back into the settings here. Oops, load. We'll go into the share print payment screen. So what we then want is what happens when the payment is authorized. So we're going to set the reader state to result, and then we're going to send the photo booth command payment accepted. So just remembering that we were on share.jpg when the user taps their card onto the terminal, and we're sending the photo booth command print photos, which takes us to the share print payment screen, which is this one here. We're setting the reader to result, and then we're going to send the photo booth command payment accepted if the payment is authorized. If the payment is not authorized, then we are going to enable the option, set the reader state to idle and enable the option trigger when transaction fails. And we're going to send the photo booth command payment cancelled. So that will then take them to the cancel screen and then back to the share screen where they can try it again. So this is how this one works. Like I said, it is a variation of the pay to start and pay on upsell, pay to start with photo upsell at the end. It's sort of the back end of that event, really, is what we're looking at here. And as I said, it's more suitable probably to an event type situation or a retail setup where the primary purpose of the photo booth is not strictly to make money, but let people have the choice if they want to print or not, and perhaps get a digital copy for free, where really they're paying with potentially their personal data instead, if you want to go that way. If you have any questions, jump to the comments and let us know.